It often starts with a single voice, a shout in a crowded market, a whispered rumor that catches fire on a street corner. Suddenly, a community turns on itself. In South Africa, a nation celebrated for its hard-won rainbow identity. This turning has often taken a violent and tragic form. Attacks against people who have come from other parts of Africa. Homes are lost, livelihoods are destroyed, and lives are tragically cut short. From across the continent and around the world, people look on and ask a simple but profoundly difficult question. Why? Why does a country that fought so hard against division now see some of its people attacking their fellow Africans? This essay is an attempt to unpack that question, not with complicated jargon, but with a clear look at the pressures that lead to such heartbreaking violence. This is not just a headline from a faraway place, it's a story about human beings caught in a storm of complex forces. It matters because South Africa is a country of immense promise, a place of vibrant cultures and resilient people. It is also a destination for many from neighboring countries who are simply looking for a chance to work, to build a life, and to provide for their families back home. When these xenophobic attacks flare up, they don't just hurt the individuals targeted, they inflict a deep wound on the entire nation. One of the most powerful drivers of this tension is the economy, or more accurately, the lack of opportunity within it. South Africa faces staggering levels of unemployment, especially among its youth. Millions wake up every day with no prospect of a job and no clear path to providing for their families. A deep and pervasive sense of desperation takes hold. It's a quiet frustration that builds over time, a pressure cooker waiting for a release valve. In this environment, it becomes incredibly easy to look for someone to blame. The logic, while flawed, feels simple and direct. Not enough jobs, someone from another country running a small business, a short leap to. They took your opportunity. This perception is powerful, even when reality is more complex. Many migrants are not taking formal jobs, they create work in the informal sector, small spaza shops, barber shops, repair stalls. They serve communities where larger businesses won't go, providing essential goods at convenient hours. In a climate of scarcity, visible success can be misinterpreted as a threat. A thriving stall owned by a foreign national can symbolize one's economic exclusion. Alongside economic anxiety, the pervasive fear of crime is a major catalyst for xenophobic sentiment. In many South African communities, high rates of robbery, assault, and other violent crimes create a constant state of unease. People feel unsafe in their own homes and neighborhoods, and they are desperate for solutions and for someone to hold accountable. When the police seem overwhelmed or ineffective, and the justice system feels distant, communities can be tempted to take matters into their own hands. In this climate of fear, it is dangerously easy to link crime to outsiders. The person who looks different, speaks with a different accent, follows different customs, becomes a convenient and visible target for this anxiety. Words have power, and in a tense environment, the words of political leaders can be like throwing a lit match into a room full of gasoline. When politicians face pressure to deliver on promises like jobs and security, some find it convenient to redirect public frustration towards a vulnerable group. Phrases like, "We need to put South Africans first," or inflammatory remarks about illegal foreigners can legitimize and validate the anger simmering within communities, giving people a perceived permission to act on their prejudices. This political scapegoating often intensifies around election cycles or during times of public protest over poor service delivery. To understand the violence of today, we must look at the wounds of yesterday. South Africa's history of apartheid was not just a system of racial segregation, it was a masterclass in dividing people against each other. The regime deliberately engineered social and economic hierarchies between black and white people, different black ethnic groups. Communities were forcibly separated, creating isolated homelands and townships, which fostered a strong sense of group identity and, at times, suspicion of outsiders. This legacy of us versus them did not simply vanish in 1994. It left deep scars on the nation's psyche and social structures. In the 21st century, a rumor can travel faster than a police car. Social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, have become powerful accelerators for misinformation, turning a small, localized incident into a citywide panic in a matter of hours. Grainy video of a supposed crime, voice note with inflammatory claims, text message warning of an imminent attack can be shared thousands of times before verification. This pours gasoline on the embers of social tension. People receive these messages from friends, family, lending them credibility, and they react with fear and anger rather than facts. Misinformation is designed to provoke the strongest emotional reactions. Behind the headlines and statistics are real people whose lives are irrevocably shattered by this violence. Consider the story of a woman from Malawi, 10 years building a small business, selling second-hand clothes at a township store. She was a familiar face part of the community, her children at school playing with neighborhood kids. Then one night, a mob, fueled by rumors and anger, descended on her street. They burned her stall to the ground, took all her stock, told her to leave or die. In one night, she lost her livelihood and savings, her home, her sense of belonging. Think of the Ethiopian man who owned a spaza shop, a small store serving the community day and night. He knew customers by name, extended credit to families, was vital to the local economy. During attacks, his shop was looted. He barricaded himself inside, listening to his life's work destroyed. Solving a problem as complex as xenophobia requires more than just condemnation. It requires concrete action at every level of society. At the community level, the most powerful tool is dialogue. We need to create spaces where local residents and migrants can talk to each other, share their stories, voice their fears and frustrations in a controlled, respectful environment. Community forums can demystify the other, mediated by trusted local leaders, mediated by religious figures, replace stereotypes with human connection. When people realize they share hopes for their children and worries about making ends meet, it becomes much harder to hate them. At the government level, there is a desperate need for clear policy and decisive action. Firstly, create a clear, efficient, fair immigration system. When residency and work permit rules are confusing, slow, prone to corruption, they create large numbers of undocumented, vulnerable people. Clear legal pathways bring people out of the shadows, allow formal contribution to the economy. Secondly, improve policing to protect all residents, regardless of nationality. Act swiftly, act impartially, stop violence, arrest perpetrators, show real consequences, address root causes, unemployment, poor service delivery, invest in job creation programs, especially for young people, provide skills training matching the modern economy, push to improve basic services, housing, water, electricity in underserviced communities. When people see tangible improvements, when they have a job, when they have a decent place to live, their desperation and anger will subside. This reduces scapegoating, makes communities more resilient to divisive rhetoric. International actors and media must help, support integration, create local jobs, improve shared infrastructure, and report responsibly. Fact-check information, provide context, avoid sensationalist language, highlight positive stories of cooperation. The violent attacks that have scarred South Africa are not a simple story of hate. They are the tragic result of a perfect storm of complex and deeply rooted issues. They are born from the desperation of economic hardship, high unemployment, where people fighting for survival look for someone to blame. They are fueled by the genuine fear of crime in communities that feel unsafe and unprotected. This frustration is then expertly manipulated by political rhetoric that offers easy scapegoats instead of real solutions, and it is amplified by a storm of misinformation that spreads like wildfire on social media. All of this plays out against the backdrop of a painful history of division that taught people to see the other as a threat. The human cost of this violence is staggering. It is measured in burned-out shops, shattered families, and traumatized communities. It victimizes not only the migrants who lose their homes and livelihoods, but also the local South Africans who see their neighborhoods torn apart by fear and mistrust. The dream of a prosperous and united rainbow nation and indeed, a united Africa is diminished with every act of violence. Yet, despair is a luxury we cannot afford. The path forward requires a conscious and collective effort to choose a different way. It starts with talking to our neighbors, questioning rumors before we share them, and supporting initiatives that bring people together. It requires decisive action from government to enforce the law, create real jobs, and deliver basic services that give people dignity and hope. It demands responsible leadership that seeks to unite rather than divide, and a media that prioritizes truth over sensation. We must build a society where a person's origin does not determine their right to be safe. If this essay made you think, please give it a like. More importantly, leave a comment with your own thoughts and experiences. Please share this story with your friends and family so we can all be part of the solution.